Alright guys, you caught me in the middle of the afternoon during my real life. But just thought we needed to have a word about the Debbie Collier case. Fox News and maybe other outlets that I haven't seen are reporting that the police don't think it's a homicide now. You know, at the press conference, did you see it? A few weeks ago now, they were sure it was a homicide. Do you remember Gray Hughes ringing the detective and speaking to them? And Gray kind of said, well, they've got evidence. They've got reason to believe. They wouldn't tell him what evidence, obviously. But I want to read you this article. Investigators consider Georgia woman's death may not be homicide, sources say. They began exploring the possibility that the disturbing death of Athens office manager Debbie Collier may not be a homicide as initially suspected, according to law enforcement sources. We don't know who these sources are. Law enforcement themselves haven't come out and said this, so who is this source that's spoken to Fox News? It's all very weird. They've no evidence linking several key people close to Collier, including her husband, daughter and daughter's boyfriend, to locations anywhere near the crime scene between her disappearance on September the 10th and the discovery of her remains the following day, according to two sources with knowledge of the investigation. And evidence at the scene suggests her death could have been accidental or she took her own life. What do you make to that? Now, it was bizarre to think that somebody lured her to that area. You know, she was like, what, an hour away from home? She went to Dollar Store, Dollar General, whatever. Bought those unusual items. You remember all this? She bought those unusual items. And then she drove back to that secluded area, and she was reported missing about 6 p.m. later that day, when her husband expected her back. Actually didn't expect her to go out, because all she normally does on Saturdays is grocery shopping. But he'd been at the game doing car park things, and he got back at like 4. Well, they'd already said at the press conference weeks ago, they'd already said that he got an alibi, he was accounted for. It was the daughter and the daughter's boyfriend. But they can't link them, according to these two sources. They can't link them. So if it was a homicide and she was lured there, that's weird enough. But to think she went there of her own volition and had an accident, why was she there? What's the motive? I mean, what would be the motive to murder her is one thing. Is it financial? Or did it start financial, an argument that just went out of control and she ended up dying? But how come she was partially burnt? What about the things that she bought? Like, it makes you think that there's a premeditation angle to it. It's just weird. What would be the motive to have her go and buy things? So if it was an accident, what would her motive be for going there? Was she meeting someone? Was she having an affair? Was she going to meet someone? She was dressed for the game. Was she going to a tailgating party and somehow ended up there? Why would she be there? And what was this fire all about? If it was an accident and she accidentally fell in the fire, all right, I can accept that. And that's something that I talked about in a video ages ago. That she could have been tending to the fire, accidentally fallen into the fire, whipped her top off to get rid of the fire. But how would she have died? And if it's an unaliving event, it's a very unusual unaliving event. I mean, what would she actually have died of? So what we need is the autopsy. We need the autopsy report. Now, I'm wondering whether they've got the phone data back, they've got cell tower data back, and none of it matches the daughter, the daughter's boyfriend. They can't link them to that location. But who else could be linked to that location, like doing a cell tower dump? Was there anyone else in that area? It's near a highway, so maybe that's just wishful thinking on my part. But they also might have the autopsy report back. Like, she was found on the 11th of September, and we're now, what we know, the 25th of October. So that's good timing to have the autopsy report back. So the cause of death might be something that just doesn't relate to any possible form of homicide. I don't get it. This case is baffling me. Absolutely baffling me. I don't get it. Every aspect of it is confusing. Every theory that I try to develop about why she might have been there and what the motive might be, I end up talking myself out of it. It's absolutely baffling. But let me know what you think. And I'm going to get on with my real life now. See you soon.